Macmillan Audio presents Mortal Danger by Aguirre. Read for you by Susan Hansfield. Death Watch. I was supposed to die at 5:57 a.m. At least, I had been planning it for months. First, I read up on the best ways to do it. Then I learned the warning signs and made sure not to reveal any of them. People who wanted to be saved gave away their possessions and said their goodbyes. I'd passed so far beyond that point, I just wanted it all to stop. There was no light at the end of this tunnel. So 2 days after the school year ended, I left my house for what I intended to be the last time. I wrote no note of explanation. In my opinion, it never offered closure, and it only made the survivors feel guilty. Better to let my parents think I suffered from some undiagnosed mental illness than to have them carry the knowledge that maybe they could have saved me. That burden could drive my parents to the ledge behind me, and I didn't want that. I only wanted an ending. Earlier, I had walked toward the BUT station I used for other errands, like shopping and school. There was plenty of time for me to change my mind, but I'd done all the research, and it was meticulous. I'd considered all sorts of methods, but in the end, I preferred water because it would be tidy and quick. I hated the idea of leaving a mess at home for my parents to clean up. This early, or late, depending on your perspective, the city was relatively quiet. Just as well. I'd gotten off at North Station and trudged the last mile or so. Jumpers loved this place, but if you picked the wrong time, somebody would notice, call the authorities, and then you'd have cars honking, lanes shutting down, police cars, pretty much the whole media circus. I was smart enough to choose my opportunity carefully. In fact, I'd studied the success stories and compared the times when the most deaths occurred. Constrained by public transport hours, I arrived a bit later than the majority of those who died here, but my leap would still be feasible. At this hour, there wasn't as much traffic. The bridge was a monster, but I didn't have to go all the way to the other side. Pre-dawn murk threw shadows over the metal pylons as I faced my fate. I felt nothing in particular. No joy, but no sadness either. The last 3 years had been the worst. I'd seen the well-meant it gets better videos, but I wasn't tough enough to make it through another year when there was no assurance college would be better. The constant jokes, endless harassment. If this was all I could look forward to, then I was ready to check out. I didn't know why people at school hated me so much. To my knowledge, I'd never done anything except exist, but that was enough. At Blackbriar Academy, an expensive private school that my parents thought guaranteed a bright future, it wasn't okay to be ugly, weird, or different. I was all of the above. And not in the movie way either, where the geek girl took down her hair and swapped her horn rims for contacts, then suddenly she was a hottie. When I was little, it didn't bother me. But the older I got, the meaner the kids became, particularly the beautiful ones. To get in with their crowd, you needed a certain look, and money didn't hurt. Teachers fell in with whatever the Teflon crew told them, and most adults had enough secret cruelty to believe somebody like me had it coming, that if I tried harder, I could stop stuttering, get a nose job, dye my hair, and join a gym. So clearly, it was my fault that I'd rather read than try to bring myself up to the standards of people I hated. Over the years, the pranks got worse and worse. They stole my clothes from my gym locker, so I had to go to class all stinky in my PE uniform. Not a day went by that they didn't do something, even as simple as a kick or a shove, or a word that dug deep as a knife. I used to tell myself I could survive it. I quoted Nietzsche in my head, and I pretended I was a fearless heroine. But I was as strong as my tormentors could make me, and it wasn't enough. 4 months ago,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?